So, what is the deal with this new Wings album, One Hand Clapping? Well, here's the story. So, after the immense success of Band on the Run, which was recorded with Paul, Linda, and Denny, Paul decided to recruit a new guitarist, and a new drummer, Jimmy McCullough and Jeff Britton. So, they formed this new, Wings lineup, and to bring the band together, they went to Nashville and recorded a couple songs for a couple weeks, and then they went back to London. Back in London, they started filming a documentary at Abbey Road Studios in late August. The documentary, One Hand Clapping, was directed by David Litchfield, and showed the band working together, and they just showed the process of Wings. It featured performances of several tracks from Band on the Run. Obviously, that was their most recent album, and so it makes sense, along with some familiar songs and some unreleased songs, and even some Beatles songs. The movie was never officially released. Despite being promised, it was never officially released. Jeff Britton did leave Wings in March 1975, which, may have caused the toss of the documentary. Although One Hand Clapping was unreleased, bootleg copies of the soundtrack have been circulated and circling around the Wings community for quite a while now. And some parts of the film have been included in special editions of Paul's albums. For example, the 2010 reissue of Band on the Run, and that one includes some clips from the film. And finally, here we are. It's 2024. It's the soundtrack. It's the complete soundtrack, and it's been released. It actually released back on June 14th, so I'm a little bit late, but it is what it is. So yeah, let's just get into my review. It may not be immediately obvious from my channel, but I'm a massive Paul McCartney and Wings fan. So, this is like a dream come true. Any new Wings releases or Paul McCartney releases are, but this is quite a prolific album, I'd say, within the Wings canon. Obviously, we have heard quite a bit from this album, but it's really, really nice to have it all in one place, especially because it's official and not bootlegs. The songs are a lot of songs we heard before. Like I said, there is a lot of Band on the Run material on this, which is great. Band on the Run is a great album, one of my favorites of all time, honestly. They just recorded it. It's not like they're washed up now, like 1 year later. They're still pretty much on their A game. And there's also, like I said, some Beatles tracks, which is very interesting to hear McCartney do with Wings. Because, it's just, obviously we have heard Paul McCartney live do quite a bit of Beatles work, but with Wings, I feel like there's not quite enough out there, and this album definitely increased the amount, a good amount. There are still some new things. There's new McCartney writing on All of You, which is this little, cabaret ditty, which we have heard that from McCartney before, nothing completely groundbreaking, but it's a good song. It's a nice song. I do enjoy it. You also hear the earlier version of I'll Give You a Ring off of Tug of War, which I enjoyed. I thought it was very interesting to hear the process of how it went from the song on this album to the song on Tug of War, because I like the song on Tug of War quite a bit. And I think that the process getting there was very interesting to listen to. I do like the Tug of War version better, because it is better, but this version is competent. I think it holds up its ground, but I think it doesn't sound as natural in the context of it being a Wings song than just being a solo Paul McCartney song. Like I said, there's a ton of things we've heard before, so it's hard to get into the actual songwriting or anything, because most of it is stuff that we've heard before. But with this new production and a new style. Speaking of the production, Giles Martin is on the production, son of George Martin. And you've probably heard his production before on Paul McCartney's new, or much more famously, the 50th anniversaries of a bunch of Beatles albums. So, yeah, personally, I love his production style. I think it's very, very well done, and his production here is not any worse. He definitely steps up for the production on this album, and he mixes it very, very well. Paul's vocals are very, out there, they're very in your face, which I love, and their tar, I think, is very, very well mixed. It kind of wraps around you and just engulfs you in this really, really nice guitar sound, and everything just works together very, very well. I think that the production on here is some of the best we've heard from so-called live material, because technically it was recorded live, it just wasn't in front of an audience, but regardless. For most of these songs, like especially the Band on the Run songs, I do prefer the versions that are already released, like on the official album. I do prefer those versions over these ones most of the time, but one that I think is actually very, very interesting, that I like it more on this album, is Live and Let Die. I like the mix and the production and the performance of Live and Let Die on this album better than I do the official song. And I like the official song quite a bit, but this one just blows it away from me. Like I was like really surprised that they could top that song at all. But here, I think the instrumentation and the orchestration of it is honestly better than the original, and I think they did a very, very good job on it. Songs don't change the world or your perception of Wings. I think it's a really good showing of where they were right after Band on the Run, especially because they were still pretty much in their prime right at this moment. Band on the Run had just come out, really, really popular, and so they wanted to record new material, and some, old stuff as well. So I think it's a very, very good record to listen to if you're a Wings fan, if you like Band on the Run. But yeah, the biggest elephant in the room, I think, is the length. It's an hour and a half long, a little bit more than that, actually, but, yeah, it's bloated. I think this album is best consumed within other McCartney songs, like on a playlist, for example. I think it would work very, very well. But if you listen to it as, like, one experience and you just sit down and listen to it all the way through, there's a lot of bloating. I think that it was very, very good that they included pretty much everything from the soundtrack. And I think that is definitely a positive that they didn't exclude much. But I think that the length of this album definitely lends it to being bloated and some songs not hitting quite as well. But overall, I think that all the songs are good and they all work together well. But I do think that there is a lot of bloating and that some songs, if they were cut, would make a more concise album. But I don't want them to be cut because I want the full experience. Yeah, that'll be about it. So my final rating is going to be an 83. Very, very good album. I do suggest you listen to it. And yeah, that'll be it. Tell me what you think in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.